Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pekacek Sports Perspective, and today I'm going to be doing a table prediction for the English Premier League. I know I'm filming it a little late. It is August 8th right now, the day after all of the games have just been played the first weekend. And we're going to see how close my predictions are at the end of the year. Let's get straight into it. Okay, let's start with the relegation teams. In 20th, I have Bournemouth. I do not think that they have enough Premier League talent to stay in the league. They did steal a win over Aston Villa this weekend with a 2-0 win, but they had less expected goals and they've only spent 10 mil over the window. I don't think they'll stay up. Next, let's move to 19th. In 19th, I'm going to have a little bit of a surprise one. I think it's Southampton. I've seen a lot of people have them on the brink of relegation, but I don't think they're going to stay up. They didn't play well against Tottenham this weekend, and they just haven't spent enough money. They've had 4 or 5 transfers of about £10 million, but I don't think that the players that they've brought in have been good enough to stay in. Obviously, they have Kyle Walker-Peters, who has had a good game. They have James Ward-Prowse, obviously, who scored over the weekend. He's phenomenal. Romeu's all right, but who really surprised me were Laiva and Aribo. They had electric games against Tottenham. Laiva was able to dribble through any player he wanted to, pass the ball. He was looking like Jorginho out there. And Aribo did a really good job keeping space. But Armstrong was underwhelming. Genipo didn't look great. Defense didn't look great. I just don't think they're going to stay up, so I have them in 19th. In 18th, I have Fulham. I think Fulham are also going to go straight up and straight back down. They have made signings, but once again, I don't think they've spent quite enough to stay in. Their main point, obviously, Alexander Mitrovic, who's been there for years now and has been their main point in multiple attempts to stay in the Premier League and has failed most of the time. They've made a couple other pickups. I don't think their team is squad, and I wouldn't be surprised if they came 19th or 20th, but I just have a hunch that Mitrovic will pull out some games like he did this weekend against Liverpool, snatching a 2-2 draw, but I don't think that this is going to be a result that we should get used to seeing. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Mitrovic had a little bit of a party this year. Next up, let's talk about the bottom half of the table, 13 through 17. Starting at 17, I have Nottingham Forest. I don't think Nottingham Forest are going to stay up or they could stay up. I have them in 17th, but I wouldn't be shocked if any of these bottom 4 teams interchange. But I have Nottingham Forest at 17 because I think they're a weird one. They have spent money this offseason. They've spent £85 million, and they've picked up some really good signings. But we've seen this happen a lot where a team that's coming up signs a bunch of new players, and then they never mesh and they don't play well. So we'll have to see if these great pickups that they've made will actually play together. Didn't work out in the first game, but 37 to go. So yeah, I have them 17th. Moving up to 16th, I have Everton. I do not think Everton are going to do well. They had an interesting year for them last season where they almost got relegated. They were in a relegation battle with Burnley. And they've spent no money. Everything they've bought has been on a free except Dwight McNeil, but I think that's an undisclosed fee. I don't know how much that is right now. But I don't think they've stayed enough. They have young players. They had an injury. Ben Godfrey got injured in the first couple minutes of the game. Looks serious, so they're going to be without arguably their best center back for the season. I don't think they're going to do well, so I have them in 16th right now. Moving on to 15th, I have Brentford. Brentford's a weird one for me because they haven't made that many pickups. They did spend £30 million. They picked up Ben Mee, Aaron Hickey, and some other names, but they already were looking okay last year. They lost their main piece, in my opinion, which was Christian Eriksen to Manchester United, but they fortified their defense. Josh Da Silva, who I've been a fan for years, had a good game last game, and they were able to draw 2-2 with Leicester. I just think they're a good team. I think they're well managed. They play good shape. They had more expected goals than Leicester, but that doesn't mean a whole lot. I've seen people put Brentford in like 8th. I don't think they're going to perform that well. I struggled to pick where I wanted to put Brentford, but I'm going to put them. I'm going to put them in 15th. Next, in 14th, I have the Wolverhampton Wanderers, or Wolves. I don't think that the Wolves are going to be that spectacular this year. We've seen them right when they came up; they were great, and they played great football, and they're a top 10 team. But I just don't love their team this year. I don't think it's that impressive. Padence's been phenomenal. Neto's been good. I'm a big fan of Max Kilman, but I just don't think they have what it takes to really compete in the Premier League. They've lost a lot of names. Connor Cody might be on the move. He didn't play last game. I don't think that they particularly have what it takes. Like I said, I sound like a broken record to compete in the Premier League. Next, coming in 13th, I have Leeds United. Leeds United, they are probably the most American team in the Premier League, and I like what Jesse Marsch is doing over there. I think he's doing a good job managing this club. I don't think they particularly have the best personnel, and I don't think they're going to be punching for anything, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them come 13th. I think they're going to punch higher than what a lot of people are thinking of them, just because of their, I feel like, ability to be scrappy and get a goal when needs be. They have a new midfield. I think they're good. They had a good game against Wolves. I'm a big fan of Aronson, Rodrigo. Huge Harrison fan. I think their defense is really weak, but I think everywhere else, even though they lost Calvin Phillips and Rafinha, I still think they have a lot more positives than negatives. And despite having less expected goals, for example, in this Wolves game, I think we'll see it a lot where they get a 2-1 win or a 1-0 win with less expected goals, but they make their opponents pay with a mistake. I wouldn't be surprised to see them punching into 13th, but I also wouldn't be surprised to see them punch lower. Next up, let's talk about the mid-table. In 12th, I have Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace has probably been the hardest team for me to judge. I know I said that earlier, but I actually mean it this time. And it's a weird one. I think that they're going to perform really, really well this year. I really like their team makeup. And I think they played really, really well against Arsenal. I think Vieira is a better manager, as much as it pains me to say, because I'm a Tottenham fan. Better manager than what people are thinking. They had more expected goals against Arsenal. They played well. They just didn't play well enough. The own goal was unlucky. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were higher. I don't know. Being honest with myself, I'm putting them 12th. In 11th, I've picked Newcastle United. Although they have their takeover worth billions and billions and hundreds of billions of pounds, dollars, whatever you want to call them, I have them 11th this year. I don't think that they're going to buy anyone crazy in January that's going to make them win all their games. But I think they have a really good squad. They performed really well against Nottingham Forest this weekend as well. But I think they have a lot of depth. They have just solid in all positions. If someone gets injured, I think they won't have an issue. And I think they're just going to be a solid Premier League team. Both their goals were a little lucky. Not lucky, but like impressive. Like you don't just tap them in well-made goals. Like it was the player that finished them. But I think that they have a great keeper, Nick Pope. I just think they have a really well-rounded squad. I don't think their management's good enough to push them high into the table. I think they're going to take 11th. Next up, in 10th, I picked Leicester City. I think Leicester City have the best squad out of everyone in the 8 through 12 mid-table. But I don't know. Last season they had such an issue with corners. I don't know if they've fixed that. They have a good squad. They played okay against Brentford, but I don't know. Something about me just sees Leicester being disappointing again, dropping points that they shouldn't be dropping. I don't know. We'll have to see. They have not made any signings, so it's all the same people that they had. They're running it back. They didn't have the most impressive year last year. I don't know. I think they'll do well. I wouldn't be surprised if they do better or worse than this, but I'm just putting them right in the middle in 10th. Coming in 9th, I selected Aston Villa. I like their squad. They played horribly over the weekend against Bournemouth. They had more expected goals, not by a lot. They've made a whole lot of new signings. Their net spend's actually only £14 million, but they have some big signings like Diego Carlos, who I think will be a big help for them. But I still don't think it's enough to push into any sort of European qualification. It could be, depending on how West Ham and United and those two in particular play. But I have them snuggled in at ninth. I think they're a good squad, but I don't think it's their time quite yet. They got a pretty young squad. I don't think Danny Ings is going to have a big year. So I think that's going to be their main issue, is that starting striker role. Watkins hasn't been impressive either. And I know Ollie Watkins is there, but I don't know. I don't know what it is about Aston Villa. I don't have too much confidence in there. Coming in 8th, I have Brighton and Hove Albion. It's not just because they beat Manchester United over the weekend. I think that Graham Potter is a top 5 manager of the Premier League. I think he's wildly underrated. I think that the formation and tactics that he runs are so tight and so beautiful. That free 4-2-1 that he runs, it doesn't really matter who's in there. I think Brighton has the worst personnel out of the entire mid-table, but I think that they're drilled so well and they play such a good formation. They put pressure on teams that they'll steal wins, and I think that they'll easily come in 8th. They always play their own Brighton style of football. They play Graham Potter football. They don't play anything else. They're always going to come out and play that. And I think that because of that, they have players like Pascal Gross succeeding, scoring 2 goals in a game. I think that they could even make a pickup in January to strengthen the squad. But I think we'll see Brighton beating some good teams, and they're going to beat who they should be beating. So that's why I selected Brighton to go 8th, even though that they sold more than they spent. They don't have a whole lot of new signings. They started with Danny Welbeck at striker, but I don't know what it is. I just think that they have a great team. They have some good young players. I don't know. In their formation, it's not all about the striker scoring. Everyone gets on the score sheet at Brighton. And they have tall center backs. I just like Brighton. I like Graham Potter. I think they're coming 8th. Next, let's move on to Conference League qualification, Europa League, and potentially Champions League, depending on where teams finish in tournaments. Starting in 7th, I have Manchester United. I know they've signed Ten Hag, and he's going to be phenomenal, and I'm not just saying this because they lost to Brighton. I don't know. They're kind of a shipwreck right now, and Ten Hag was supposed to grab the reins and be perfect, and he did that over preseason, but obviously it didn't quite work against Brighton. I think they have a good squad. I just think they're going to mess up too many times, and it's going to cost them points. And when you get this high in the table, if you drop points, you don't come where you want to come, and you come 7th. So I think that they're not going to be that impressive this year. I'm a huge Christian Eriksen fan. I think that he is going to be integral for this team, and I think Ten Hag sees that, starting him at striker, playing him false 9. I think he knows the abilities that he has, and I think that he might unlock that. But the whole Ronaldo situation doesn't help your club. Morale's in the toilet. I have United coming 7th, despite spending a net spend of £55 million. They already have good players that they don't play. I don't think they have what it takes to play Champions League this year or anything else. So I have them 7th. In 6th, I have West Ham United. I think that West Ham, they don't have a spectacular team, but we saw it last year that they can play when they're all clicking and when David Moyes has his men doing what he wants to do. They have some injuries right now that doesn't help them. I think they also have a huge hole at center back. I think they needed to sign a center back this window, and they didn't. Well, I guess it's not too late, but I don't know if they're really going to. I know they signed Cornet just now. I like their depth. I like all the different squads they can run. I think Skamaka is going to be a hit. I think he'll score some goals and he'll perform well for West Ham. Starting off against City's never a good way, so They lost 2-0 over the weekend, but I don't think they particularly played bad. They didn't have City rack up 6 on them. City didn't even have that many opportunities. Holland just had a great game. They unlocked them a couple times. But I feel like against most sides, West Ham's going to look good, especially once they get their new signings in, getting them meshing, getting them playing together, getting that chemistry. I think that West Ham will perform well, and I think they might slip into that 6th spot. Coming in 5th, I selected Chelsea. I think that Chelsea have a good squad, and Sterling, I think, is a phenomenal pickup. I think the fact they got him for as cheap as he did, he's going to be well worth that. I think he's an absolute superstar, and the fact he was at City, people just thought that he should be a superstar, but he's a superstar. I think he's going to score a whole lot of goals and assists, create a lot of opportunities for that team, especially when players like Mount disappear on days. I think that he'll always be a great option for them. I just don't think they have a striker. I think that you need to have a striker if you want to come top 4 in the Prem. They don't have anyone right there as of now because Havertz hasn't been playing well. I don't think Sterling. They could throw Sterling up there. We'll see. Koulibaly's a decent signing as well. I don't know. I think they'll be good. I don't think they'll push for top 4. Well, they'll obviously be pushing for. I think it's going to be a big battle between these top 5 teams. I think West Ham and United might be a couple points off, but I think the fight for top 4 should be pretty big. But I'm not expecting a whole lot from Chelsea this year. I would be shocked if they got top 3, but I guess we'll have to wait and find out.
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
I kind of want to talk a little bit more about Chelsea, actually. I didn't really do a great job, in my opinion. Chelsea, people have gone under the radar. They've spent £109 million. They've spent a lot of money, a lot of it being on Marc Cucurella. And they spent a lot of money on a left wing back. Also funding Brighton. I think Brighton are going to be easily top 6 team next year. I wouldn't be surprised. They have a lot of money now. I think they'll sign good players. Anywho, they've spent a lot of money. They picked up Cucurella. They have loanees that are phenomenal players, such as Conor Gallagher and Armando Broja. They're a deep team with a lot of good players. And they've spent a lot of money, so they're under pressure. They're already under pressure, but they've just spent £100 million, only sold 7 mil. They're under a lot of pressure to perform this season, but I just don't think they have the personnel to do so. I think the Cucurella signing is silly when you have Ben Chilwell. I don't think Ben Chilwell is a bad player, and if I think they should ship Ben Chilwell somewhere if they think Cucurella is going to play left wing back, which he probably will. Make a little extra money, but I don't know. I don't think it's looking too great for Chelsea. Old center backs too. Combined age of 106. Pretty crazy. Now it's heating up. Top 4 Champions League qualification. I guess 5th could technically be, but the main top 4 Champions League push. I have number 4. I have Arsenal, as much as it pains me. I think that Arsenal have made some good signings this year. I think that they're going to play well, but then again, Arsenal very easily could choke, but any team could choke, but Arsenal have a habit of doing so. And I think the pickup of Zinchenko and Jesus are quite good. You get players with a lot of winning experience. You get that in the clubhouse. People start to act different and play different. And I think they also have a lot of depth as well. Some good players, some good young players. I think they'll play well. I think the most interchangeable in the top 7 are going to be Arsenal and Chelsea fighting for that 4th spot. But I don't know. Everyone seems really hopeful about Arsenal this year. They played great against Palace, a Palace side that I think played really well. But when you have a team that's competing with Granit Xhaka in the middle, I don't have a whole lot of confidence. I think that, I don't know. It's a weird team, but I still think they're somehow going to come forth in the Premier League. I'm a little biased too, just because I'm not a huge fan of them at all. I hate them even, but I don't know. I think they have some huge stars. I'm not a fan of Martinelli. I don't think he's going to be that good, but I think Odegaard, Jesus, and Saka are really going to perform this season. I think they're all going to net a whole lot of goals. Odegaard's going to get a whole lot of assists. Martinelli might get like 6 or something. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe he'll make me bite my words. In third, I have Tottenham Hotspur. I'm a supporter of Tottenham Hotspur. I have been since the 7th grade when I got into soccer. And I'm really hopeful this year. I think Antonio Conte is the greatest manager on the planet. I think he's done a good job signing players that fill holes. I think that Tottenham have the deepest team in all of Europe, the whole planet even. And I think I'm really optimistic. I think we'll get a win this season in a major competition like the trophy, either the EFL Cup or the FA Cup. I don't think we'll win the Champions League of the year, sadly, or the league this year, sadly. But I wouldn't be surprised if we're pushing for it, especially with Antonio Conte. It's just a shame that you've got Man City as good as they are this year. But I guess only time can tell. I could talk about Tottenham forever, and I'm going to make a separate video on that. But Tottenham, third. Next up, I have second place, which I selected Liverpool. I think that Liverpool are obviously phenomenal. They have been the last however many years. But they got rid of Sadio Mane, who I rated very highly. They did pick up Luis Diaz, who had a great year last year. We'll see if he continues it or even improves it. But he'll have to improve it if I think they're going to beat City. They did not play well against Fulham at all. Terrible performance. Their backline looked poor. Then they didn't look like they were making a whole lot of chances. That first half they were awful without Darwin Nunez. They were terrible. I thought Darwin Nunez would be a bad signing. I thought that the price that they paid for him was too high. But he kind of made me eat my words a little bit because when he came on, he was phenomenal. Had 4 shots. Totally changed the game around. Had the most shots in the whole game, most opportunities. Scored 1, assisted 1. He was the whole reason that they were able to come back. So he'll probably get the start next week even, but we'll have to see what Liverpool do. When you have Jurgen Klopp and players who have been fighting for Champions Leagues and fighting for Premier Leagues, that you're obviously going to have a squad of winners, and I think they'll get second. I wouldn't be surprised if they dropped a little lower. I don't think they're going to, though. I think maybe third. I think they could swap with Tottenham if Tottenham play what they should play, but I think that Tottenham aren't going to play what they should play, and they're still going to lose games to like Palace and your Evertons or some stupid dropping 1-0s. But I think Liverpool could do the same. We saw that when they played against Fulham. But once the season gets into swing, we'll have a better idea of how teams are actually performing in their form. But I put Liverpool in second place. Lastly, we have the champions, and that is Manchester City. I think you're kind of silly if you don't bet on them again. They already had the best side in the league. They barely spent money, aka 97 mil, which is a whole lot of money, but they sold 143 mil. So they made 46 mil profit, and they signed Holland and Calvin Phillips, which are both terrific pickups. I think they overpaid for Phillips, but that's not the case. Who really cares when you make 46 mil back? I think we saw Holland play phenomenally. They didn't play that great against West Ham. Once again, only first game of the season, but Holland looked incredible. I think he and the team are only going to mesh better, and he's only going to fit Pep's style better and better and better. So I have Manchester City winning the league. I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe pick up their first Champions League. I think they're the best team on the planet, and we'll have to see. And like I said, I'm a huge Tottenham fan. I could talk about them all day. Tottenham did the double against City. If Tottenham win all the games they should win, which is everyone except top 4 teams where it'll be close, and they did the double over City last year. If they do the double over City, draw to Liverpool twice, and win all the games they should, they win the league. So probably not going to happen. I'm probably not going to take the double over City again, but we'll see. But I have City winning the Premier League, and there is my Premier League table. Thank you guys for watching the video and watching the Pekacek Sports Perspective. I've been Michael Pekacek, and please leave a like, subscribe, comment down below if you liked my predictions or didn't like them, what you'd change, or any perspective that you have on the Premier League this year. I'd love to hear your input. So I hope you guys keep talking about sports. in your daily lives. It's good for the soul, good for the mind. And I hope you all have a great day. And I'll see you guys next time.